training camp is underway. There's big news coming out of the Jets facility, and it's not particularly good. Who reported to training camp that's looking for a new deal, and who's holding out? What's going on, guys? Dick Support here, back to another video. And training camp, like I said, is underway. We are getting closer and closer to football being back on Sundays. However, we also have to deal with the headaches of training camp. Injuries that happen, players holding out, and anything else that really you can think of. It's gonna happen during training camp. Let's break it down. Alright, I'm going to start with the news coming out of the Jets facility this morning. Justin Fields went down. He was carted off with a lower leg injury, and that's all we know right now. He got hurt during team drills. They got the card for him, and everything's up in limbo right now. Justin Fields was signed on a 2-year, $40 million deal during the offseason, immediately named the starter. Now, will he play? That's a big thing. Is he going to play this year? Because all we're hearing is lower leg injury. That could be anything from a sprain to a tear. We're not going to know, and the Jets probably don't even know right now. The Jets are not going to know until they get tests done. But if Fields is out for an extended period of time, or even the entire season, Tyrod Taylor is the backup. We know he's had starting experience in this league. But does he really move the needle as Justin Fields could for the Jets? And yes, I know Justin Fields has had his struggles as a starting quarterback in the NFL. However, I still feel in a good situation, which the Jets possibly could have this year. That's the thing. The Jets would spend 2 first-round picks back-to-back on offensive linemen. Garrett Wilson just signed a long-term deal. The defense is still really good. Sauce Gardner just signed a long-term deal. So Fields could have had a good season, and that could have been what got the Jets back to the playoffs, which really every Jets fan definitely wants to see. All they needed was solid play from Fields, and they probably could have made the playoffs. But now the question's going to be, if Fields is out, what do our expectations of the Jets change to? How do those expectations change? But again, we're not going to know until we know exactly what is wrong with Justin Fields. It could just be something where he's out for a couple of weeks, and then he's back before the regular season starts. Or again, it could be a case of he's out for the entire year. We won't know until we get the update. But yeah, this is going to be a scary time until we get it. Alright, let's get some updates on players that want a new deal. For players that did report, one being James Cook at the Buffalo Bills, and Tom Pelissero, I was just watching NFL Network, he was talking about James Cook not only reported, but he was a full participant during practice. Now, James Cook wants a long-term deal, and with how the market's been for running backs lately, the Bills are not particularly interested in giving him a long-term deal. However, or particularly interested in giving the kind of long-term deal that he wants, but it looks like James Cook is going to be locked and loaded for this year. If he has a big season, somebody's going to give it to him in free agency. And yes, the shelf life of running backs is not particularly long, but if you produce in the NFL, and that's the thing. James Cook had a tremendous season last year. If he can even come close to that, even 75% of what he did last year, he'll be able to get a good deal in free agency this year. So with James Cook, definitely wants to hit the market. Remember, if he didn't report, he was going to possibly lose the year that he needed to be a free agent. So for him, he definitely wants the long-term deal, but he knows what he has to do to get that done right now. Micah Parsons did report to the Cowboys training camp facility. He does want a long-term deal, and I really want to talk about what Jerry Jones said during a press conference. Him talking about Micah Parsons missing games last year, and the last time he signed a player to a long-term deal that made him the highest paid player at the position, Dak Prescott. Yes, Dak Prescott did get hurt, and yes, you had Trayvon Diggs that when he signed a long-term deal, he also got hurt. And Micah Parsons did miss games last year, but it was the first time he missed games, and Jerry Jones actually got the games wrong. He said he missed 6. He missed 4 games, and he still had 12.5 sacks last year. Micah Parsons is one of the most dangerous players in the NFL, and I mean that in the best way possible. He can single-handedly just destroy an offense, and that's exactly what the Cowboys need. But am I concerned that they're not going to get this deal done? Absolutely not, because this is just what Jerry Jones has done. He always holds strong until the last minute and then signs them for way more than what they could have done if they had just got it done a year or even 2 years before that. That's just the way Jerry Jones has been. And one thing I do want to say, time has definitely not done well for Jerry Jones. The game has definitely passed him. Is it time for him to take a back seat and let somebody else take control of the Cowboys? Yeah, it definitely is. It absolutely is. You can see the game has passed by Jerry Jones, and he should just be enjoying it. Just enjoying being the owner of the Cowboys for as much longer as he can be that owner. Not necessarily worrying about the day-to-day operations and let somebody else take control of that. But when's that going to happen? I don't know if it is going to happen. I don't know if Jerry Jones can really do that. If he can let somebody else make the decisions and then he can just relax. That's a big thing. If he can do that, if he can honestly say that he can do that, he'll find somebody. But if he can't, I mean, he'll be just controlling the Cowboys until he's gone. And that's the honest truth. That really is. Now, for players that are holding out, Terry McLaurin for the Washington Commanders, he's holding out. He wants a new contract. He's got 1 year left on his deal. So McLaurin has been a great receiver. He's been probably the most underrated number one receiver in the NFL since he came into the league. All right? But there are issues that the Commanders are aware of. First of all, McLaurin is almost 30 years old. Okay? And we've seen when wide receivers get into their 30s, they do tend to slow down. So the Commanders are going to be a little wary of giving him a long-term deal. However, with McLaurin, he just saw Jamar Chase reset the market. He saw all these receivers get long-term deals, and now he wants to be paid kind of on par with what he's been performing like as an NFL receiver. And he's more than okay to ask for that, okay? I don't think this is a case where one side is right, one side's wrong. I think both sides are right. McLaurin should definitely get a new contract based on what he's done the last few years, but the Commanders definitely have reason to be wary because you're going to give him a long-term deal, and what happens if after a year he ends up slowing down and he's not that same player anymore. So there's definitely points both sides will have. But here's my thing on this. Washington wants to win right now. They got to the championship game last year, the NFC Championship game. And now they want to get to the Super Bowl. They want to win their fourth Super Bowl. They can do that with this core. They definitely can. But McLaurin has to be a part of it. You need to make sure McLaurin is on your team to do that. And if you can get that Super Bowl, I feel like it's worth it because you need this player. You need McLaurin. He is your number one receiver. He is Daniel's favorite target. You need to have him on the field if you want to have a chance to get that Super Bowl. That's the way I see it. So you have to find a way to get this done. I think they're going to get this done. I think McLaurin, I just don't see him missing any time. I just don't see that whatsoever. He's going to be a Commander week one. I'm going to say this right now. He's going to be a Commander, whether they get the long-term deal done or they push it until later. He's going to be on the field, okay? This is just one where I trust this Commanders front office. I never thought I'd say that. Man, just glad Dan Snyder is gone from the NFL. I think everybody is. All right, let's move on to the Bengals and what's been going on with their first-round pick and their top defensive player. Let's start with Shamar Stewart. Shamar Stewart, we know what's going on there. All right, they are trying to add language to the contract to where they could pretty much void all of his guaranteed money if he does something that's detrimental to the team. But the issue becomes, what exactly is going to be defined as detrimental to the team? And Mike Brown, oh my God, I still can't believe he said this. He said, if he's in jail, I don't want to pay him. The issue becomes, if he's in jail, he's suspended by the NFL. And you're not going to have to pay him at all. He's suspended without pay if he's in jail. So you already would not have to pay him if that does happen. Okay? So that completely is null and void. But the other issue becomes, are we just saying if he's arrested, you can void the guaranteed money? Or if it's anything else, what if he gets called on, what if he gets a penalty on just a routine play? Because that happens so often? Are you going to say one penalty, you're going to avoid that? Or if he gets a speeding or parking ticket, could you say that's detrimental to the team? What exactly are you saying that's going to be detrimental as to why you're going to avoid the guaranteed money? Okay? That's the issue right now. It's not clear, and no one else has had this language in the contract. Why are you trying to have Stewart be the first one to have it? Stewart is absolutely right in this, in the fact that you're trying to add something to a contract that you haven't done before. You didn't use this on your first round pick last year in Mims, but you're trying to use it on Stewart this year? Okay? Why? Well, we know why, because, well, I'll explain that with Hendrickson, but it's just not the hill for him to die on. Mike Brown is just making himself look worse and worse as this goes on. And right now, oh man, and right now, I just don't see how this gets done. I just don't see how they're going to be able to sign him. And if that is the case, then he can re-enter the draft next year, and the Bengals would get nothing. It's the same thing with Bo Jackson. Bo Jackson did not sign with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers after being drafted first overall because the Buccaneers got him ineligible to play college baseball because they flew him out for a physical. They said it was okay by the NCAA, but it wasn't, so he was deemed ineligible to play baseball. So instead of signing with the Bucs, he goes and plays baseball in Kansas City, and then is drafted by the Raiders and becomes a two-sport star. All because the Buccaneers foolishly thought that they were going to be able to sign him after getting him ineligible to play college baseball. And somehow this is even worse. Okay? But wait, there's more. Trey Hendrickson, their best defensive player from last year, who led the NFL with 17.5 sacks, who wants a new contract. Because of others that have got new contracts this offseason, he is in Florida. He did not report. He wants a new deal. He deserves a new deal. But Mike Brown, again, they're not doing anything right. And again, there were comments made by Mike Brown's daughter that really rubbed him the wrong way. Now, Trey Hendrickson is open to talks at any point. He has said that. He just wants a long-term deal. He wants to help the Bengals potentially win a Super Bowl. He wants to do that. But again, the Bengals are just being stubborn and idiots, and they're just not doing anything right. But this is the issue right now. Over 1/3 of their salary cap is tied up in 3 players: Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Joe Burrow. Burrow and Chase are 2 of the best players at their position. You can make the argument that Jamar Chase is the best wide receiver in the NFL, and Joe Burrow is at worst top 5, at best top 2 quarterback in the NFL. So they definitely deserve those deals. And T. Higgins might be the best number 2 receiver in the league. If he had signed with anybody else during free agency, he would have been the number 1 receiver. Any other team would like to have him as their number 1, and the Bengals have him as their number 2 because of Chase. And they were able to get both Chase and Higgins signed during the offseason. But now, because of all that money tied up, they don't really have a whole lot for Trey Hendrickson. Well, I wouldn't say that. They still have over $30 million in cap space. So they could get this deal done with Hendrickson. And I do get Hendrickson is in his 30s. You wonder how much time he has left. But at the same time, he's coming off a 17.5 sack season. Okay? He deserves a new contract. And this is going to be the last time, potentially the last time he will get a long-term deal. A big-time deal. Now, let me go over with the Pittsburgh Steelers real quick, because TJ Watt just got a new contract. He got a contract extension that is paying him over $40 million a year. Now, with Watt and the Steelers, it's clear that they want to win now. They want to win the Super Bowl this year. Aaron Rodgers was signed in the offseason. This is potentially his last year. Cam Hayward, how much longer does he have left in the tank? TJ Watt, he's been a great player for a long time. He's going to the Hall of Fame. How much longer does he have in the tank? He's been held back by a few injuries, and he's in his 30s. He's getting up there in age. So that's really the thing with the Steelers. We know they want to win right now. And the moves that they have made have said, we want to win now. But can they do it? Does this team have enough to make a run? Getting TJ Watt signed was amazing. Getting that done. But again, how much longer can he play at the level that he has played at for so long? I'm not concerned in this year or even the following year, but it's going forward. How much longer is Watt going to be able to do this? But again, you're not worried about the future, you're worried about the now. And if the Steelers end up winning the Super Bowl this year, then it's all worth it. Okay? It's all worth it they can win the Super Bowl. All the moves that they have made. But if they can't, then you have to wonder what the future of the Pittsburgh Steelers hold. And you're going to have to worry about that no matter what. But it's clear that they want to win this year. They're tired of just being stuck in football purgatory at this point because they're never bad enough to where they're going to be drafted in the top 10, but they're never good enough to where you really think they can make a run at the Super Bowl. Well, starting the season they do, and then they just seem to fall off. So how do they avoid the fall off this year? That's the big thing, especially in a division that has the Baltimore Ravens who, let's face it, they have been very good the last few years, all right? AFC Championship game in 2023, divisional round 2024, they have high expectations again this year. So you have to get by them. It's good that you have dominated them the last few years, but you lost to them in the last two matchups. In week 16 of the regular season, or week 17 of the regular season, and then you lost them in the wild card round. So is the tide turning in that rivalry? Or can the Steelers find the dominant that they have had with the Ravens again? And of course with the Bengals, with that offense, with the trio of Burrow, Chase, and Higgins, you know they can score a lot of points. The defense is a big-time question, but the defense can be solid, then they're going to be hard to beat. So that's the thing with the Steelers. And I know, I was supposed to be talking about TJ Watt and everything with that, but I think it's a good conversation. Can the Steelers get this done? Do they have enough? Again, we're not going to know until the season starts. Alright guys, those were some updates that we've had at the start of training camp. Let me know if you want to see more of this style of video in the future. Let me know down in the comments below. And as always, I'll see you guys next time.